Hi, my name is Tara, and if you are new here, I am a type 1 diabetic and I am taking you along on my pregnancy journey. So I've gotten a few questions lately and I wrote them down. And so I thought I would just read the questions and answer them. Some of them are diabetes related and some of them are just pregnancy related. So I'm just gonna get into it right away. So the first question is, what was my reaction taking my pregnancy test? So I actually took 2 pregnancy tests at 2 different times. So I took a pregnancy test right before New Year's and it was negative. And I thought for sure it was gonna be positive. And so I was very disappointed, which I wasn't sure if I was going to be disappointed or not because I was extremely nervous about being pregnant. I'm actually a part of this tocophobia group on Facebook, which is the fear of being pregnant, and I think I for sure have that. It's not even a fear, it's like a debilitating phobia of being pregnant. And just the thought of being pregnant would like give me a panic attack. And so I think it was a good thing that the first pregnancy test was negative, because then it really showed me how much I really did want to be pregnant, because I wasn't expecting to be as disappointed as I was. So I took that test and it was negative, but I knew I took it early. So I waited, and then on January 4th, I took another one. And I took this test 15 minutes before I had to go to my cousin's birthday dinner. And I was expecting it to be negative because the first one was, but I was like, I just have to know. And I took the test and it was positive. And I don't know. I feel like the same as everybody else. Like, you're excited, you're nervous, you're scared, you're shocked, but not shocked. I don't know. It was like a lot of things. And so I did film my reaction, and I do think it is on my channel. But I literally went outside, and because it was winter, I went outside and had a panic attack. And then I drove to my cousin's birthday dinner, and I acted completely normal. I don't know how I did that, but my family was like, we would have never known you were pregnant, how you were acting. You were acted completely normal. So yeah, so that was my pregnancy reaction. The next question is, the biggest change since being pregnant. Biggest change. I would say my anxiety is better. Maybe not, maybe my husband would not agree with this, but I think being pregnant, my anxiety is actually a little less than the thought of being pregnant. I will say my anxiety is not gone by any means. I'm always anxious, and will cry and, be nervous about things or nervous about doctor's appointments. But I would say the idea of being pregnant and actually being pregnant, I have less anxiety now, I think. That's probably the biggest change. I'm trying to think. I mean, I've definitely not been doing very much around here, I will say. I am pretty much a potato on the couch. That's where I live. And my husband goes to work and then comes home and cleans and does the dishes and cooks dinner for me, and I just lay here. I'm starting to get a little better now that I'm starting to feel better, but yeah, I guess that was a change. I'm definitely more tired. How did I prepare for for pregnancy with type 1 diabetes? I met with so many specialists. I met with my endocrinologist, I met with a nephrologist, I met with an OBGYN, I met with a maternal fetal medicine doctor, I met with a therapist, specifically who does therapy for pregnancy. I wanted all the information. I wanted to know who all my doctors were gonna be. I did not want to be pregnant and then be like, okay, I'll find an OBGYN. Okay, I'll find a maternal fetal medicine doctor. I wanted all these people in place before I was pregnant. I had two major fears. One was preeclampsia, and the other was I did not want complications because of my diabetes. Like, I've worked my entire life to keep my diabetes in control so I don't have complications, and it terrified me that, like, if I'm pregnant, is that all just gonna be thrown out the window in 9 months? And I just could not stomach that fact. And so I really worked very hard to get my blood sugars as tight as I could. My A1C was like 7.2, and then before getting pregnant it was 6.5, and now being pregnant it is 5.9. I could not believe that when I got that result back. That's crazy. I will say, I don't know if it's just me, but I do not have good luck with endocrinologists. I feel like, I don't know, any other doctor like is so helpful, and I feel like anytime I go to the endocrinologist, it's like they don't really help with anything. And maybe that's just my experience, but I've seen so many different endocrinologists, and I feel like across the board, I go there, they make like one tiny change, it doesn't really do anything, and then they refill my prescriptions. But being pregnant, I've actually met with the pharmacy technicians in endocrinology, and they are amazing. I'm gonna see if I can do that after I give birth, because they have helped so much. They make so many amazing changes to my settings, and it has helped so much. And it's also nice because I can meet with them virtually, and I meet with them virtually about every 2 weeks. So that has been helpful. And I met with a nephrologist because I was very nervous about preeclampsia. I have a relative in my family who had a very scary experience with preeclampsia, and so that just terrified me. And I know diabetes is very difficult on your kidneys, and preeclampsia is very difficult on your kidneys. And so I met with a nephrologist. I basically just wanted to ask her, like, so if I get preeclampsia, do I just end up coming to you then for dialysis? Like, is that pretty much the end of everything? And she was like, no. But I'm glad that I started seeing a nephrologist before being pregnant, because actually during pregnancy I've had high blood pressure, and so I'm glad I already had a relationship established with a nephrologist before becoming pregnant. Yeah, that is all the stuff I did pre-pregnancy with diabetes, was just kind of meeting with all the specialists I knew. Like, I wanted to know a maternal fetal medicine doctor because I knew I was going to be working with maternal fetal medicine because I am high risk. So that's kind of the things that I did. What is the best and the most frustrating thing about being pregnant with type 1 diabetes? Maybe that you're more aware of your health, I would say. Because I have diabetes, I don't take my health for granted. And so I try to be very proactive with things. Like, we probably would not have caught my high blood pressure had I not seen a nephrologist. And she told me to get protein urine sticks to test the protein in my urine, and to get a blood pressure cuff. Had I not gotten a blood pressure cuff, I don't know if my high blood pressure would have been caught so early, because most of the time when I go to the doctor, my blood pressure is not too bad. It's a little high, but not much. But checking it every day, morning and night, we really caught it very early. And so I would say the best thing maybe about having type 1 diabetes with pregnancy is that I'm very hyper aware of my health, I guess. And the most frustrating thing, my blood sugars have honestly not been bad. The most frustrating thing, honestly, is the high blood pressure. I guess that could be from my diabetes, but that's honestly the most frustrating thing because my diabetes unexpectedly has been amazing. Like right now it's like 89, my blood, and like just trending straight, which prior to being pregnant, if my blood was 89, it would always be going down. Anytime my blood sugar was in the low 100s, it would always drop. It was so frustrating. And so honestly, being pregnant, I feel like my blood sugar is more stable. Like the number it's at is the number it kind of stays at. Name hints. We're not telling anybody the name. So a name hint. It is a very unique name. I think it's a very girly name. Like a very feminine name. It goes with her nursery theme. Her nursery theme, well, that is actually another question on here. So the nursery theme is butterflies and fairies and like the color purple. And so, yeah, but that is all of the hint I'm going to give because we're not telling anybody the name. Food aversions and cravings. I've not had too many cravings except for the only thing I really crave are grapes and McDonald's water. I don't know what it is about McDonald's water, but I love it. Like I will call my husband on his way home from work and I'll be like, I don't care what you get, a soda, whatever, I don't care, just get me 2 large waters. It's so cold and it doesn't have any type of taste. Like I feel like it just tastes pure, like pure water. That's it. And I just love it. I crave it so much. And then grapes. I feel like otherwise I don't really have any cravings. I mean, I eat sweets, but that's a craving I've always had. I just feel like I let myself eat more sweets than I normally would when I'm not pregnant. I feel like I have more food aversions. I feel like in the beginning, everything was disgusting. Like honestly, I very much have resorted to eating like a toddler. I eat a lot of mac and cheese, chicken nuggets, like rice, bread. I eat a lot of carbs. So thank God my blood sugar hasn't been crazy, but I feel like I have a lot of food aversions to healthy food, which is not great. My biggest aversion though was actually not food. It was like any type of like scent, like perfumey or like room spray, anything like that, like candles, perfume, room spray. That just made me want to throw up. Air fresheners. Oh, but I've learned that I cannot buy in bulk right now. I used to buy in bulk, cook in bulk. I'm somebody who I can eat the same thing every single day until I just get sick of it. And so I would always buy stuff in bulk, cook in bulk, freeze the meat or whatever I was making, and then just eat the leftovers until I was sick of it. And in the beginning, I spent so much money on food because I would buy in bulk, and then one day, something would sound so good, and then the next day I was I can't even think about that food. And so now I've definitely been going to the store a lot more. Okay, due date. My due date is September 13th, but I don't think they're going to let me go until the 13th, which I am very nervous about because induction just makes me nervous. I just really don't want to get a C-section, and I don't know, I just feel like being induced puts me at a higher risk for a C-section because your body is not ready to go into labor yet. And so that being induced definitely makes me very nervous. But I understand why. They haven't talked about it yet, about inducing me or not. And so maybe they wouldn't, but I don't know. I feel like they're going to. And the baby is not too big, but she is in the 76th or 71st, I don't know, something in the 70s percentile for how big she is. She's right now 3 pounds, and I am 28 weeks, 28 or 29. I think I'm 28 weeks. And so right now she should be like 2.5 pounds, and she's 3. So she's a little bigger, but that cannot be from my diabetes, because my diabetes has been so good. So she must have just, I don't know, had a growth spurt or something. But so I'm sure I'm not gonna go till September 13th. What is my birth plan? So actually I have to fill out the hospital's, little form of your birth plan, which me and my husband have not gone over yet. But I'm not against getting an epidural by any means. I'm very scared of an epidural. I don't want any. I guess one of my biggest fears of all of this is long-lasting effects. I just don't want long-lasting complications from my diabetes because I was pregnant. I don't want, nerve headaches or, numbness or back pain because of the epidural. And I know that is rare, but I do know 2 people that have had that from the epidural. And so that makes me quite nervous. But I know in the moment when I'm in tons of pain, I'm probably just going to do the epidural. But yeah, it does make me very nervous. Other than that, birth plan, I really wanted a doula, but we just can't afford it at the moment. But if I could, I would definitely have a doula. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else our birth plan would really be. I guess I don't really care as long as I just do not want a C-section. I do not want a C-section, and unless it's absolutely 100% life or death. Nursery theme we went over. Morning sickness. Yes, I've had all day sickness. I will say I am pretty lucky though, because I've only thrown up 3 times, and actually they were not from morning sickness. They were from other issues that I was having. But I just feel nauseous all day and just tired and exhausted. That's how I feel. And if I would push myself hard during the day, I would for sure throw up. But I'm very fortunate that I have been able to take breaks when I need breaks. And I actually, is this on here at all? I actually threw up. So me and my sister, during the very beginning of my 2nd trimester, we went on a short trip to New York, and that just took me out. I came back and I was having high blood pressure. I was violently throwing up. I had ketones in my urine. TMI, was constipated for 13 days, and I do not do well on laxatives. They never do for me what they are supposed to do. They just make me throw up. So I was taking them, and the doctor was prescribing all these different laxatives, and they were just making me throw up. I ended up having to go to the emergency room and get an enema, which was a really fun time. No, it really, honestly, I was having that problem for 13 days, and I was I should have came in here 10 days earlier. The enema was nothing compared to everything else I was going through. I'm I should not have even messed with all of those medications and laxatives and everything. I should have just came in and did this. It was so much easier and quicker, and definitely not as embarrassing as I thought it was going to be. But A1C before and during, I already answered that. It's in the low 7s, 7.2, and then it was 6.5 when I got pregnant, and now it's 5.9. My blood sugars while being pregnant, they've been very good. I've taken definitely probably triple the amount of insulin that I was before I was pregnant. However, my blood sugars are very good right now, and stable. I thought it was gonna be. How many doctor appointments do I have? I feel like they were like twice a month maybe. And starting next month in July, they will be every week, I think. And I don't know if that's more or less than a normal pregnancy because I don't really have a normal pregnancy to compare it to. I don't know. I was expecting to actually be at the doctor a lot more than I am. I will say I do see the pharmacy technician for endocrinology every other week. But it's a very short appointment and it's virtual, so I don't know. So I guess those appointments I have more often, but they're like so quick and easy. My care team, I have a maternal fetal medicine doctor, I have a nephrologist, an OBGYN, an endocrinologist, and the pharmacy technicians. Oh, and if you have diabetes, at least what they had me do, but they had me get like I had to see a cardiologist to get like a scan of my heart to make sure my heart was good. So I guess like one of the good things about being pregnant with diabetes is, man, like you really know how every single organ in your entire body is functioning. So like they are very thorough. And so my heart was fine. What blood sugars do I aim for? So my endocrinologist is actually much more strict than my OBGYN. My endocrinologist would like my blood sugars to be like 65 to like 90, I think, which when he first said that, before I was pregnant, I like could have like thrown up. I was like, are you serious? Like I won't be able to survive on that. Like that's crazy. But my OBGYN said, she's like, I will take straight 140s all day. She's like, she's like, I've seen, she works with women with diabetes and pregnancy. And she's like, I see women so many times who try to get their blood sugars in like the low, 80s, 70s, and their blood sugar ends up like going up and down so much because they're trying to get it down, to be like these perfect blood sugars. And then they go low, so they treat the low, and then it goes up, and then they overcorrect with insulin, it goes down. She's like, I would rather have you have a straighter line at a higher 100 number than all of this. And so I really did appreciate that a lot. And so I don't stress about it too much. I try to shoot for like under 140. Yeah, so if my blood sugar is under 140, I'm good. Like right now, I just got a notification because I'm recording on my phone. I think it's like my blood is 83, and straight. So that's perfect. But yeah, so I'm definitely glad you said that. Every once in a while, I'll get like a high blood sugar. Like there were 2 days where I was like in the high 200s, and that I was starting to get very freaked out about. Now my blood sugar has been fine. The scariest part about being pregnant with type 1 diabetes, I would say probably the complications, and anybody can have complications from pregnancy and birth. Probably just like the extra risk you have. I would also say maybe like the things I've read online. I am somebody who like, I need to research everything. Like before I had my tonsils removed when I was in high school, I had to watch videos of other people getting their tonsils removed, or before I had my wisdom teeth removed, I wanted to watch videos of people getting their wisdom teeth removed. Like, I feel like I like need to know. And so when I was researching pregnancy with type 1 diabetes, there's like so many horror stories and just really a lot of negativity. And so I think that's probably the worst part, honestly, is like I was taking everybody else's fears and problems that they had and like making them my own. And I am trying to get better at doing that because it does not help the situation. And I was so afraid of getting preeclampsia and I read all these stories about people who got preeclampsia, who've had diabetes, and I don't even, knock on wood, I don't even have it yet, or I don't even have it. So yeah, I think that's the worst part, is like hearing these horror stories. Tips and advice for pregnancy with type 1 diabetes. I would say my tips or advice would just be to try to get your care team set up sooner rather than later. To try to get your A1C down to a good number, or as good as you can get it. And honestly, a really big tip, and I know this is not going to help everybody, and maybe it was just my scenario, and maybe it won't even affect anybody else, but when I first found out I was pregnant, probably the first month, my blood sugars were so horrible. They were in like the high 300s, and I was pacing around, our entire home, up and down the stairs, up and down the stairs. We have a treadmill pad. I was doing the treadmill pad. I was giving myself so much insulin. I could not eat anything except vegetables and chicken. And my blood sugar was just so out of control. And I was just crying. I was like thinking, I'm gonna, something awful is gonna happen. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna deal with this for 9 months. Everything that I read said that your blood sugar actually goes low in the first trimester. And my blood sugar was the worst it had ever been. And no matter what I did, no matter how much insulin I gave myself, nothing changed. And I was contacting my doctors, and they were just like, that's pregnancy. And I felt like something was wrong. And so I went to the emergency room, and I was also just like tired, and like I had no energy, no ambition, there was like one day I literally like just sat there and like stared at the wall for like 5 hours. I was like so lethargic and tired. I went to the emergency room, and I was actually having a metabolic stress response to being pregnant. And they gave me IV fluids. And once you have IV fluids, it like cures the metabolic stress response. And ever since then, my blood sugars have been great. And I am so glad I went with my gut on that, because oh my gosh, if I hadn't gone in, like, would I still be having that? I don't know. But I guess like a metabolic stress response is your body is just like doesn't know what to do. So it's just trying to do everything. And I guess like your liver just starts dumping glucose into your blood. And that's why my blood sugar was so high. I don't know. I guess if you're having a lot of trouble in your first trimester, your blood sugars are crazy high and out of control. Like, I mean, mine were like super out of control. My insulin was just like water. Like, it didn't do anything. And I couldn't eat anything. And so I guess if you're having that, either go to the emergency room and get an IV, or talk to your doctor about maybe like IV therapy. Is the baby big? The baby is a little big. She actually in the beginning was measuring quite small. She was in like the 30th percentile. And then she was like completely average. And now she is a little big. What kind of insulin pump do I use? I use the Tandem T-Slim X2. That's just the insulin pump that I use. And I think it works very well. I'm very, very, very nervous about starting the Dexcom G7 in July. They're going to discontinue the G6, and that's what I've been using. And I've had nothing but great experiences with the G6. It's always accurate. It's like the best thing ever. And I've heard not so great things about the G7. I've heard worse things about the G7, like the 15-day. And so I am going to be doing the 10-day G7, but I am very nervous about that, because I'm like, why do we have to switch like 2 months before I give birth? Like, why can't we switch like in December? And then what do I eat? I kind of touched on this. Whatever's not gonna make me want to puke. I don't know. I'm honestly have not been eating very healthy. And before this, I was a very healthy eater. I've definitely gained weight during this pregnancy for sure. Because I feel like I've not been eating the healthiest. I try to eat vegetables. I try to eat low carb. I try to eat, protein. But in all honesty, it's like I'm kind of like a toddler. Mac and cheese, chicken nuggets. So I'm gonna have a lot of work to do after I'm done being pregnant because I have definitely not been eating the healthiest I've ever been. But yeah, that is all the questions I've been sent. If you have any more questions, just leave them in the comments below. All right, thank you so much. Bye.